Hello children, wishing you a very good day. This is your teacher Asima Hanum and I welcome you all to this session again. Children, animals, what is the first thing that comes in your mind? Yes, compassion, love, affection, care, isn't it? Unless one has not loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. What a beautiful line. Unless one has not loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. Children, animals are such agreeable friends and creatures at the same time who do not ask questions. They never pass criticism like we human beings, right? And that is what makes them unique. Their eyes have that spark in them. Their eyes have the power to understand and speak great and different languages. Children, let's remember that animals are not just mere creatures for human consumption. They are splendid beings like we people, and they have every right to live their life the way they want. And they have evolved with us, and they are the co-inheritors of all the happiness and all the abundance of life present on this planet Earth. And this brings me to the beautiful and the heart-touching story, The Bond of Love by Kenneth Anderson. Before I start discussing the plot, children, I would like to discuss a wonderful and a beautiful concept with you. Yes, children, it's love. Love is a beautiful, a complex emotion. It is something that makes us, and that is why William Shakespeare calls it the king of the emotions, because all the other emotions, they are ministers of love. So we can say, children, it is a mix of emotions, beliefs and opinions that create in us a strong feeling. And what is that strong feeling related to? Mutual respect, compassion, affection, care, and of course, the beauty of an individual. So that we can say that love is that emotion which makes us and is responsible for all those changes that makes us a better person. And we can explore love at 4 different levels. The first level is eros, children. Eros, yes. Eros is erotic, passionate love that we can have for anybody in our life. We can have that passionate love for our parents. We can have that passionate, erotic love for our siblings, for our friends, or maybe somebody we are closely associated with in our life. And the second category is philia. It is that love which we have for our friends and the equals. The third category of the love is storge. The storge is the unconditional love that parents have for their children. And the fourth category is agape, the love of the God, the supreme power. For what, children? Yes, mankind. So this story, this wonderful heart-touching story, we are going to explore this concept at all the 4 levels. And what are those 4 levels? Erotic love, filial love, storge love, and of course agape. And before I start discussing the plot with you people, let's have a look at the author first. Children, as I said, the author is Kenneth Anderson. His full name is Kenneth Douglas Stewart Anderson. He was born on 8th of March 1910 and was an Indian-based writer. All right, so we can say that an Indian writer who's having a British origin, basically. And he's not only a writer, but at the same time a hunter, a nature lover, and the chronicler of wildlife, a nature enthusiast. Children, I have used three important words. First one, nature enthusiast, which means a person who has a great love and regard for the nature. Nature includes everything, children: wildlife, plants, animals, even natural phenomena. And the chronicler of wildlife, what is that? One who writes chronicles, okay? And then a hunter. So yes, children, we can say that Kenneth Anderson, he was an adventurous man, not only a writer, a short story writer, but an adventurous man as well. And he has written 8 books and 60 short stories based on his real life experience. About what? About his adventurous life. And his hunting expeditions include several encounters with man-eating tigers, leopards, rogue elephants, and sloth bears. Now children, what is a sloth bear? A sloth bear is a species of bears. They are being categorized as mammals and are considered as the laziest mammals in the world. Alright, now why I am talking about sloth bear? Because the protagonist of my story is a sloth bear. Yes, children, let's have a look now at the plot. Children, the narrator of our story, the bond of love, is Anderson himself. And he states that once he was out with his friends. And where he was? He was out with his friends, with his companions, and they were passing through the sugarcane fields in Mysore. And the people there in the fields, they were trying to drive away the wild pigs because they had been disturbing and eating and destroying their sugarcane fields. And that is the reason that people were driving the wild pigs away. And all of a sudden, a sloth bear came in front the car of the author, who was along with his companions. Now see children, this very description, the peculiar description that the narrator has given us, talks about two important things. First, animals. Second, human beings. Why I'm talking animals and human beings? Because I am going to link and talk about the connection between the two, right? Because we human beings disturb their natural habitat for our selfish motives. And that is why what they do is, they come to our places, they visit our places. And that is the reason the wild pigs were there in the sugarcane fields. And when the sloth bear was there, one of the author's companions, he shot at the bear and it fell dead on the ground. So here it is quite emotional that we human beings do not have empathy for animals. We do not have mutual respect for each other. We think we are supreme and we can do anything in life, and we forget that they too are the beautiful and the loving creatures created by the Supreme Creator, and they do have right to live their life the way they want. And then one of the author's companions, he shot at the bear and it falls dead on the ground. And then they went close to it in order to check what exactly had happened. And to their surprise, what they found was a small, beautiful, innocent baby bear, a bear cub, who was clinging on the mother's back. Now, because this young baby was orphaned, and who is responsible, children? We human beings, author's companion, because he was responsible for killing the mother of this young baby, right? And the bear cub, it was actually trying to cling on to the mother's back, trying to really identify and see what has happened to the mother, because the mother was not at all able to move. The mother was not at all able to hold the baby properly, the way earlier she used to. And then the baby cub, it tried to run into the fields, because it actually understood the threat, the human threat. What was the threat? Maybe they were going to kill it like his mother, and maybe they were going to separate the baby from his mother. Of course, children, this is the beautiful imagery, a description that the writer has made through this visual imagery that we all can actually think in our minds and imagine in front of us. And when the author and his companions, they moved inside the sugarcane fields and tried to find out that baby cub. And finally, they were able to catch him. And what did the bear cub did? It actually tried to scratch author with its long, hooked and sharp nails. Of course, it was a normal response, a normal reaction anybody could do to save his or her life. And then finally, what they did? They took this small, young baby cub into a gunny bag, and the author gifted the same sloth bear to his wife. And now here, the second important character in our story is introduced. And what is that character? It is author's wife, narrator's wife. And her name in the story has not been revealed, children, but she is the epitome of love, compassion, care, affection, sincerity, and she is selfless. And at the same time, it is very, very evident that she is an animal lover. She has great love and regard for the animals. Why? Because when narrator gifted her the pet, the sloth bear, she felt extremely delighted. She was happy. She accepted it with open heart. And that's why, children, this is the instance in the story wherefrom we can say that yes, the lady was an animal lover, a great animal lover. She had high regard, love and affection for animals. And then what happens? She christened this baby bear, this baby cub, as Bruno. Christian means she named it. She named it Bruno. And then Bruno started living very happily with the family. You know, he became actually the part of the family, like a family member. And initially, he was given milk in a feeder like a baby is given. And then the other things, the other eatables, he started eating almost everything: cakes, porridge, butter, chocolates, rice, meat, pork, almost everything. And he drank every kind of drink: tea, coffee, alcohol, and the other drinks too. That means this particular feeding styles and the descriptions of the eatable that I just gave you clearly reflects and shows that he was given the utmost care, affection and love by all the family members. He was given the motherly affection by the lady of the house. She used to treat her as if the baby bear were her own child. Children, there comes the beautiful concept, human-animal relationship. It is not just human beings who can be our good friends, for whom we should care, but being the supreme creation created by the supreme power, we ought to have that feelings. We need to develop those feelings wherein we can have that empathetic and sympathetic feelings towards animals. Let's not forget, they are splendid beings. They are wonderful creatures who are created by God Himself. And this beautiful and affectionate lady, she treated this baby bear as her own child. And then what happened? Because of all the love and affection, he grew in size. And then once, this baby bear, an incident befall him. There was a mishap, and what was that? The narrator had a library in his house, and there were a lot of rats in that library, and he had actually kept some barium carbonate there in order to kill those rats. But unfortunately, this bear, baby bear, Bruno, he visited the library and he ate some of the barium carbonate, and he was paralyzed. And as soon as the family members discovered that he was paralyzed, he was rushed to the veterinarian, right? And there he was given a 10 cc antidote, not only once but twice. So children, this is actually the care, an instance in the story which really reflects that the family, they had great concern for this Bruno, right? So he was taken to the veterinarian, wherein the veterinarian doctor, he gave him 10 cc of antidotes twice, and his condition was better, and then he started eating again like a normal child. Later, this Bruno was named or called, we can say, as Baba by the lady. What is Baba, children? Baba is a Hindustani word which signifies a small boy. You know, it is a word which we closely associate with our children in order to show and reflect that how closely we are associated with each other. So, the bear was initially given a title or a name Bruno, but later he was called as Baba. And this particular action clearly reveals the great and the beautiful depth of the love and affection that the family was giving him. And due to that particular affection and love, he was growing in size day by day. Actually, he was growing much bigger in size, and he had outgrown the size of the 2 Alsatian dogs in the family. And the family actually now had, that thought, it was not appropriate now to keep Baba in the house because he was actually growing in size. And what they decided? They decided to shift Baba to a zoo in Mysore. And the lady who was actually now behaving as a mother of Bruno, initially she was not able to accept this reality. She was not able to accept the fact that Bruno, the family was going to shift Bruno. Why? Because they had developed a bond. That is why, children, the title is The Bond of Love. She had developed that bond with this bear, with this baby bear, with this Bruno, with this Baba. And that is why it was very difficult for her to accept the pain of separation, because she knew Baba was not going to remain there now in the house. And then after a huge discussion with the author's companions, his son and the narrator himself, the lady gave her consent, and Baba was shifted to a zoo in Mysore. And there, the curator of the zoo and the superintendent, they were very humble and kind-natured people. They accepted Bruno, they gave him a warm welcome, and he stayed there in the zoo, right? So it was a new home, a new environment for Baba or the Bruno. Children, we need to understand here, change is a part of life. Change makes us a better person, and it's very important, not only for human beings, but for the other species as well. Initially, it was very difficult not only for the author's wife, but for the bear too, to accept and understand that he was now at the separate place where he was going to live alone. And for long 3 months, they had no connection. Though author's wife, she wrote n number of letters to the curator of the zoo and the superintendent, stating and inquiring how Bruno was, what he was eating, whether he was okay or not, like a mother who really nurtures and cares about her children. So the lady had the same love and affection for the bear, and that is the reason she wrote n number of letters to the curator and the superintendent of the zoo. And then after long 3 months, the narrator took her along with a car and his companions to visit the zoo in the Mysore, right? Why? Because he actually felt that this lady was not fine. Her condition was not okay. She was crying bitterly. She was not eating properly, right? And that is why the narrator took his wife to the Mysore in order to see how Bruno was, how Baba was. And then his companions, they had actually thought in their minds that maybe Bruno had forgotten the lady, maybe he had no idea who she was or who they were. But then when Bruno saw the lady after a long time, he was extremely delighted, children. He gave her a big and a tight hug. And the lady, she had, kept all the eatables with her, and she offered the same eatables to the Bruno, like a mother. When a child sees a mother after a long time, what is the reaction, children? A child is happy, delighted, energetic. And same was the case with this Bruno Baba. He was excited, he was delighted to see her, to see his mother actually, right? And she had got everything, ice creams, chocolate, juice, drinks for him like a mother. And then they hugged each other and spent a lot of time there. And then this lady requested the curator of the zoo and the superintendent that I want to take my Baba back home. And what happened ultimately is that the superintendent allowed the lady to take Baba home, to take him back. Because as I said, he was a kind, humble man. He really understood the feelings of the lady as well as the animal, children. So that is why I said we ought to be empathetic. We need to have that realization that animals too are the same, they too have the same feelings, emotions like we human beings. They too have every right to live their life. No doubt, we are supreme in the creation. Maybe we are more intelligent than animals. But we need to have that understanding that animals hold equal importance on this planet Earth. And that is why the curator and the superintendent of the zoo allowed Bruno to go back home. And then finally, at home, because he had actually grown big, a separate island was created for him, made for him, which was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide because of his size. And a wooden box was kept there. Inside the wooden box, a lot of straw was kept in order to make him feel warm. And then the lady and the Bruno and the Baba, they spent a lot of time together and they were happy with each other. And this is the point where our story ends. Children, this beautiful story teaches us so many important messages. The first message that it teaches us is to have that mutual respect for the other species. We ought to have that empathy, sympathy for animals, and most importantly, we need to develop the feelings of love for one another. Even animals, if given proper care, attention and love, they will definitely react. As I said, their eyes have that spark wherein they understand unspoken words. They understand great languages, children. This is exactly what happened in our story. So children, this is the beautiful message that the chapter has provided us. As I said, love is the king of all the emotions. It makes us, it makes our personality. And animals too have this feeling of compassion and love and warmth and care. That is why we can say love is reciprocal. I hope I'm clear. Thank you very much. See you next time.